Originally, when Photoshop came out, it was for editing photos, which is why they called it Photoshop. But it was really the first of the big graphic design desktop programs, and so designers got a hold of it and they kind of bent Photoshop to their will and they started designing things like web pages and brochures and business cards and things like that. After a while, Adobe came out with Illustrator and said, here, use this to design web pages and brochures and business cards, but a lot of people didn't really pay any attention and they just kept right on using Photoshop. Illustrator in many respects is a better design tool. It's at least easier to use. But once people know something, they generally go along with that, and so a lot of the graphic design community uses Photoshop to design things. Well, Adobe is finally saying okay, and they're making Photoshop a better design tool. And there's some really neat things in here that we're going to start exploring. First off, and this may seem like a small thing, but actually turns out to be a really pretty big one, when you're designing with Photoshop, you end up with a whole bunch of layers, because everything that you draw makes a new layer. Like if you look at this design, if I scroll through it, there's all kinds of layer action going on. Alright? And if I scroll back up to the top, if I needed to find this layer right here, the one that said find a class, I'm going to have myself a super hard time unless I know about this new thing that Photoshop CS6 does. At the top of the layers, you see where it says kind? Well, it's not just being nice to you. What it's saying is, hey, let's go looking through the layers. By default, it's saying, well, what kind of layer do you want to show? Do you want to show the pictures? Or do you only want to show the text layers? See, they're all text down here. Or maybe the path layers, the ones that you draw, the shape layers, those kind of things. So it'll filter for you. But I find that the most useful is when you pull down and say, no, I'm looking for the name. Maybe I can just directly search for find a class. And here comes up the find a class layers. I double click and there's the one I found. Pretty neat, right? Now this doesn't work out so great if you don't name your layers, but you're always naming your layers anyway. Notice you can also get in here and search for a different effect that you put on, or attributes, or a certain color. Most of the time you're either going to be dealing with the type that you're looking for, or you'll come in and search directly for a name. And again, I find this really, really useful. If you search for something and you all of a sudden want to see all the layers again, see this little red looking little switch button here? That shows me all the layers again, and then I can turn the filter back on so I don't have to do it a million times. Or if I decide, hey, I just want to show them all again, I can just come in here and get rid of whatever I'm searching for. Try it. Open up Photoshop, make yourself a couple of different layers, name them, come up to the top, change it to name, and make sure that it's only showing you those layers. Again, it's really so if you have a whole bunch of layers, you can very easily find the one that you're looking for.